Hello everyone and welcome back to UE5 BP Guru. Didn't mean to bring that up. Today we are going to be looking at our inventory. I've got rid of the annoying NPC that follows me around because it used to scare the hell out of me. So what we're going to be doing, I'll show you because I've already done it. I've obviously tested this out. If we come and we now pick up some of our items. Oh, didn't pick that one up. Let's pick this one up, this one up. This one and this one. We have a series of items we can use now. I haven't added quantities on there, so I do need to do that. But we are able actually to click on this and we can swap it out, remove it. We can, change things up now to our equipped items. This is our equipped slot, and then we have our items to swap in and out. So this is our inventory, this is our equipped slot. That's what we're going to be setting up over this and possibly another episode. We'll see how we get on. So yeah, that's what we're aiming to get done. And then once we've got this working and you can equip an item, we will have a system where it will spawn it into our hands and then we can use it, etc. So the first thing we need to do is create an inventory. So obviously I've already done this, but obviously I will redo it again for you guys. And today we're just going to basically be designing our inventory. That's the main sort of what I want to get done. So we're going to call this, I'll call this inventory. Now normally I call it inventory widget, but because this is a tutorial, I'll call it toot_widg. And we're going to open that up. It's going to open up on another screen, of course, because it always does that, but it shouldn't take 2 seconds and we can get cracking. Here we go. There it is. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get a canvas panel. I'm not going to mess around too much with the size because we don't really need to. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get an image and I'm going to just pick a random size. I'm going to try and do this a bit like I did the other one. Let's do about 800 maybe. I'm just trying to think of what the best size would be. It's not going to matter too much. And what I like to do is I like to go, what all the edgy YouTubers that do these tutorials do, is go for black and 0.5 opacity. That's what we all do. We all do it. We've all been there. So that's what we're going to go for today. And I'm going to set this one to 125 and 125, like so. And I'm going to move that a little bit away from this one, so it sits there. And of course, I'm going to do the same thing. Go to black and 0.5 just to get that edgy look about it. And then we're going to compile. Now, this is fine as it is. I don't really need to do too much more with this. I do want another image here, which I'm going to set to 100 by 100. And if I zoom in, I just want to make sure that looks roughly in the middle. That looks fine. And this is going to be our icon widget. And so what I need to do to begin with is I need to come down on the right hand side of the details panel, go to the behavior and set it to hidden so that it doesn't show up if there's no equipment item in there to begin with. And I'm going to call this equip item image. I could call it EI image if you want to call it something smaller. The other thing we're going to need for this slot is a button, and we're going to set that again exactly the same to 100 by 100. So it sits over the item image. Now, if we leave it as is, it's going to obviously it's going to basically hide it. So what we need to do is on the right hand side under appearance, we need to go for normal. So open the style section, go to normal, find the tint and set it to 0. So you can't see it at all. And then off the hovered, we'll keep the color, but we'll set it to 0.2 so that it's not as, you can still see the image. And then on pressed, we'll set that to 0.4. Again, so you can still see the image, but obviously it doesn't overtake that image completely when we click on it. Okay, so that should be all we need to do for that. The other thing we will need to do is basically anchor all this to the top. That's what I'm going to do. So click on this drop down at the top here, and select the top. You can do it individually, but I just selected all of it and did it like that. If you click on it again, you should see the anchor being at the top now. Okay, so we've got a button, we've got our image. We also need to rename this button to equip. I'll call it EI button. And then we just make sure we've got that set like that. I'm going to change this to EI image just to keep it a bit smaller as well. Cool. And there's one last thing we need. We need to use a uniform grid panel. And we're going to set it up here. This one needs to basically cover near enough all of this. I think if I remember correctly, this is actually the one that needs to be 550 by 800. So what we're going to do is set this to be a little bit larger. We'll call it 600. No, that's too much. Let's go for 575. It's not quite symmetrical. 580. That looks better. And then we'll go for like 820 down here. It's not perfect, but it's fine. Let's try 830 actually. Yeah, it looks a lot better. Okay, so and we also need to anchor that to the top as well. And we're going to set this up as a variable. We're going to call this uniform grid inventory. Okay, and that's where we're going to build our inventory. So there's one more thing we need to do. We need to create a second widget, and this is what we're going to use to for our items. So we'll call this I think I called mine item slot. I did. So I'll call this item slot toot underscore widge. And we're going to open this up. We're going to get another canvas, if I can spell right, canvas panel. On here, top right here, it says fill screen. We want to go down to custom, and 100 by 100 is fine. That's all we need for this. And we're going to get an image, and we're going to fill that image up into the whole of this, so it sits at 100 by 100. And we're going to do the same thing with the button, where we put that on the top, set it to 100 by 100. You don't have to worry about the anchor for this one. We'll call this item slot button, and for the image, we'll call this item slot widge, item slot image. There we go. For the button, it's the same thing again. So we need to come onto the appearance, go to style, go to normal, set this to 0 so we can't see the button in any normal situation. When we hover over it, we want to see 0.2 so it knows we've selected that one. And then on the pressed, we want to do 0.4. Very simple stuff. Compile. And then the last thing we want to do for the setup is we want to go to the event begin play. Not the event begin play, sorry. We want to go to the third person character is what I meant to say. And we're going to set this up to the button I. Now you could do an input action, but it's not really necessary for this. It doesn't need an enhanced input. It just needs us to use the word I. Now I will set this up to be for our new tutorial one. But for now, I'll just talk you through it. So we have this flip-flop. This is going to basically, every time we press, it's going to either do A, and then it'll do B, then it'll do A, then it'll do B. So it flip-flops. So get a flip-flop node. Then we want to create our inventory widget off the A, which is going to be our new inventory tutorial. There we go. And then we're going to add it to the viewport. So pull off from the return value, get the add to viewport. And then from the game player controller, we want to set up input mode to game and UI only. Input mode to game and UI, not only, but yeah. There's one other thing we need to do from our player controller actually, which I haven't done, and that is show mouse. So pull up from the get player and get show mouse cursor. No, we want to set it. Sorry, set show mouse cursor, and we'll set that to true. And then when we turn it off, we want to set it to false. That's something I forgot to do, but yeah. So we set input mode, game, and UI. We use the player controller as the player controller. The widget in focus is the inventory widget, and then from the then we set the mouse cursor from the player controller. Off the B, we are removing from parent this inventory widget. So just plug that straight in. It should work absolutely fine. I've had no issues anyway. And then we want to set the input mode back to game only, and then we show mouse cursor to false. Again, driven from the player controller. So let's just test that out, our new widget, make sure it's all sort of sitting correctly. I might get a bit of squash because the screen's not quite rectangle. Let's give that a go. If we press I now, we get the, you can see where our button is. It actually does show up, and if we click on it, it does go a little bit darker, but we should still be able to see the image when it comes through. And obviously we've got nothing built in the inventory yet. But in the next episode, we're basically going to do the whole code for the inventory. It might be a little bit of a lengthy episode, but overall shouldn't be too tasking, and we then at the end should have a working inventory. So thank you so much everyone for watching. Hopefully you found this tutorial useful, and hopefully with the next tutorial it will all come together and you'll have a working inventory where you can equip an item. I haven't done the hotspots. I might do that further down the line. I wasn't really too bothered about it anyway. I just wanted to be able to equip an item and use it. But thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Much love. Take care. Bye.